Hare Krishna, dear devotees, my humble obeisances to you all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you all for joining His Holiness Candramauli Swami Maharaj's daily class. Today we are continuing with Srimad Bhagavatam series of first canto, 16th chapter, verse number 11. We are happy to have His Holiness Candramauli Swami Maharaj on our call today. Hare Krishna Maharaj, my humble obeisances to you, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for your time and association, Maharaj. You can please take over whenever you are ready. Thank you.
Okay. Yay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Salankritam Shama Turanga Yochitam Vatam Rigendra Dwajam Asritam Purat Riturvita Swa Dipapati Yuktaya Swasenaya Digvijayaya Gir Nirgitaha. Translation: Maharaj Pariksit sat on the chariot drawn by black horses. His flag was marked with the sign of a lion, being so decorated and surrounded by charioteers, cavalry, elephants, and infantry soldiers. He left the capital to conquer in all directions. Purport: Maharaj Pariksit is distinguished from his grandfather Arjuna, for black horses pulled his chariot instead of white horses. He marked his flag with the mark of lion, and his grandfather, that was Arjuna, marked his with the mark of Hanumanji. A royal procession like that of Maharaj Pariksit, surrounded by well-decorated chariots, cavalry, elephants, infantry, and band, not only is pleasing to the eye, but also is a sign of civilization that is aesthetic even on the fighting front. Om Gyantamidandasya Gyanajana Salakaya Chaksun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Om Vishnu Badaya Krishna Prasnaya Bhutale Srimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Name Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavari Pastyatya De Satarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Asvaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So a division, this is called a division: cavalry, chariots, elephants, infantry, and foot soldiers. Of course, that's infantry. Consists of about, it's called the Okshahini. Okshahini is a division of soldiers. It says that during the Battle of Kurukshetra, there were so many Okshahini divisions on each side. So an Okshahini consists of about 64,000 infantry, 11,000 elephants, so many cavalry, so many chariots. The exact number is given as an Okshahini division. I think in one of the verses coming up, you'll see the exact number for each of the different categories. Chariots, how many cavalry, how many elephants in band. Also, a band is there to celebrate the appearance of the king as he comes out in a very regal way, ready for battle. So this is, as Prabhupada said, this is a sign of aesthetic, even in the fighting front, and a sign of civilization. You can see in Kali Yuga, there's nothing like that. The leaders in Kali Yuga, they send out the fighting soldiers who are not even willing to fight, but they've been forced into the service. And they sit in their offices making plans, sitting in front of a computer, smoking cigarettes and deciding how the battle should go on. But in the Vedic principle is after the king declares war, he is the first one to go out into the battle. He simply doesn't send the poor soldiers to do everything, and then he sits in his room doing nothing or making plans. But today, Kali Yuga, everything is, nobody knows what fighting is about. They fight for economic reasons. They don't fight for moral or religious principles. And they fight simply for conquering over territory in order to exploit the territory, in order to increase the amount of finances they have in their treasury or the areas of their conquering. So we see such a dichotomy. And here was a distinction. Maharaj Parikshit, he had black horses, and Maharaj Arjun, he had white horses. Arjun was the grandfather of Parikshit Maharaj, and so there was a distinction between the two dynasties, white horses and black horses. And here it says that Maharaj Parikshit's flag was marked with lion. Hanuman had agreed to go on the chariot of Arjuna. That's a nice pastime that describes how Hanuman actually wanted to do service in the battle of Kurukshetra. So he was given the position of actually being in the battle in the form of the flags that the king was carrying. That was Arjuna at the time. So you can see this battle it's almost like a dramatic display of various types of cultural and chivalrous forms of activity. Today they hide behind, they throw bombs in marketplaces, killing people, blow up trains, and do all kinds of nonsense. Nobody knows how to fight. They have so much powerful military equipment that they've created. So the equipment does all the fighting. The men pretty much are hiding behind different foxholes or in different areas, and the whole scene of fighting has completely changed now. And there's no battle lines either. During the Battle of Kurukshetra, there were no civilians killed in that battle, although it was the largest number of deaths in the battles. More than there was 640 million soldiers that were killed in that battle, and there was actually more than that on the battlefront. So practically both sides were wiped out, and that battle took 18 days. Nowadays, they carry on these wars for months and sometimes even years, throwing bombs into hospitals, killing innocent people, and testing out. It's like in World War II, the war was over. Japan had already surrendered to the Allies, and United States had the atomic bomb. Hitler had the atomic bomb too, but he didn't use it. He knew it would be too much of a devastation for people, so he didn't use it. That's why Prabhupada makes a comment that Hitler was a gentleman, and he knew the devastation of the atomic bomb, and he had it, but he didn't use it because he knew so many innocent people would be killed. But the United States, they were different. They wanted to test out the bomb. So even though Japan had already surrendered a few months earlier, they flew their bombs over Hiroshima and Nagasaki planes, and they dropped these bombs, and tens and thousands of people were killed in that war. And the war was already over. Japan had already surrendered and lost, but they killed all these extra people. Today, fighting is like that. A country will sacrifice their own people in order to get into war, just like in World War II. This says that when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, that was the reason that the United States entered into the war in the Second World War. But actually, the United States knew that the Japanese were coming with their planes into Pearl Harbor. They knew ahead of time, but they didn't stop it because they needed some excuse to get into the war. So they sacrificed all their men and many of their equipment and allowed the Japanese to bomb them. So as a reason for getting into the war. I mean, today's fighting is just so devious and so selfish. But here you see, there's a reason for fighting in the Vedic times. Of course, sometimes they were conquering other territories because there were inferior kings who did not know how to rule. So a superior king would come and defeat that kingdom and then rule that kingdom and bring the standard of rule to a higher stage for the population. And that's one of the reasons for the war. Of course, the Battle of Kurukshetra was planned by Duryodhana because he simply wanted to push out the Pandavas and not allow them to have any influence in any type of rule. And they were Kshatriyas. And Krishna offered a compromise proposal to avoid war. He said, because they are Kshatriyas, you have to give them some land to rule. So give them 5 villages and they'll be satisfied. 1 village for each of the Pandavas. And Duryodhana made that famous statement, which is spoken quite often, that I will not even give him enough land to put a head of a pin on. He was so greedy. And then Krishna understood there was no other reason, no other alternative but to engage in this war, which was the greatest and most powerful and most devastating war in history. How 640 million soldiers were killed in 18 days, just 18 days. You can imagine the type of fighting that was on the battlefield. And they were fighting with chariots, they were fighting with lances and various types of instruments, bows and arrows mostly, various, and swords and various other things. So that was an intense fight. And they wouldn't fight at night either. The fighting would go on from sunrise to sunset, and after the fighting would not begin before sunset and not end and not continue after sunset. It would begin at sunrise and would end at sunset. And during the night, they would sit together, the opposing generals from both sides. They would sit together in a tent and they would talk friendliness. But then during the day, they would go back to fighting again. So there was a gentleman type of atmosphere among the fighters. Because it was more than just a fight. It was also an exercise of their dharma to engage in fighting. But there was a reason, and that reason was to establish the Pandavas on the throne. Here, this is after the Battle of Kurukshetra, where Yudhisthira has already left along with his brothers. They have attained to the higher kingdoms. And now Maharaj Parikshit, he's the ruler of the world. He's the grandson of Arjuna. He was saved by Krishna in the womb when Asvatthama tried to kill Maharaj Parikshit, being the last heir to the throne of the Pandava dynasty. Krishna came. Uttara was his mother, and she called out to Krishna, my womb is being attacked. Please save me. But actually, Asvatthama had killed the baby, but Krishna, right after that, he appeared and brought the baby back to life. And therefore, Parikshit got the name simply because he saw Krishna within the womb. Therefore, he was given the name Parikshit, means the examiner. That is the exact name of the Parikshit, means examiner. throughout his whole life, he was examining the people he was meeting and seeing if that was the same person he had seen in the womb. In other words, he was still looking for Krishna. And so, and Yudhisthira had established a kingdom, and Maharaj Pariksit carried on that kingdom for many, many years after. But now you see when Krishna left the planet, Kali Yuga started to come in. So that was the indication that Kali Yuga was now appearing. In Kali Yuga, there were so many deficiencies. We read in the 12th canto, especially in the 3rd chapter, of all of the anomalies that are appearing in this particular age. And you can see, those who are a little bit observant, you don't even have to be observant. All you have to do is function. There are so many anomalies in today's society on all levels: social, political, economic, ecclesiastical. There are so many deficiencies. Nobody knows how to perform anything according to how it should be performed. There are rules, regulations, and standards that are set for all types of activities in all areas of society. And there's a way sociology goes on, there's a way politics goes on, there's a way that economics goes on, there's a way that family arrangements and family maintenance go on. There's a way that business goes on. All of this is in the Vedas. The Vedas deal a lot with material subject matters that are in the mode of goodness. And if people function in the mode of goodness, then they are inclined to transcendental activity, and they are qualified. But now nobody goes for transcendental activities because they don't function anywhere near the mode of goodness. In fact, the statement is being said that the mode of goodness is conspicuous by its absence. When you notice something is not around, then you notice it's not there. So the quality of goodness is not seen today. Passion and ignorance will rule pretty much the whole world. And goodness is hardly available. You find goodness only in some religious circles, and especially in the Krishna conscious movement. But it's hardly there anywhere else. And so because the whole society is topsy-turvy, all aspects of society are up for speculation. Everyone is trying to think how to live life, but everything is there in the Vedic information through the Vedas. They teach everything: medicine, they teach fighting, they teach economics, they teach sociology, family planning, family maintenance, business. Everything is there in the Vedas. And the corollary to the Vedas, the various statements coming from the Manu Samhita and others, all give guidance to the population on how to execute the different responsibilities they have within life. And there's a standard, because without rules and regulations, people will live according to whatever they feel is right. So people need to be guided by higher authority. And Vedic knowledge is higher authority. So the king, he was also guided by the principles of kingly reign, kingly rule. They would rule for the benefit of the citizens. Whatever money they collect from the citizens in the form of taxation, all that money would go back into the society to improve the quality of life for the citizens. The king would take only what he needed to live nicely. Of course, he was living in the palace and he always lived nicely. But his main concern was his citizens. And now you can see he's coming out. Maharaj is coming, he's out. He hears that Kali Yuga has come into this kingdom and is causing harm to the population. So he's not going to sit there and depute somebody to go check it out or maybe even ignore it. He's going to go out himself along with a grand royal procession to announce his appearance. and it becomes, and he's invincible too, surrounded by so many infantry and cavalry and horses, chariots, and there's a band playing too. It's a big procession. It's almost like a parade. And this is actual culture, as Prabhupada said. This is aesthetic values even on the fighting front. Uh, so you can see the effects of Kali Yuga. We've only been into this age, Kali Yuga, for 5,150 years approximately. That is the approximate date of the beginning of Kali Yuga. And already there is 426,850 years more left in this age. And it'll continue to deteriorate. Of course, during the deterioration, at least right now, there is a golden age, and that is Lord Chaitanya's appearance in the world 500 and 520 and 38 years ago, I think it was. No, 530. Let's see. This Gaur Purnima coming up is 537 years. Right now, we're coming to the 538th year, which will be this Gaur Purnima in March 25th this year. And so we can see that golden age has appeared by the presence of Lord Chaitanya. So along with the deterioration of the rest of the world, there'll be a golden age where people can get themselves free from this effects of Kali Yuga and actually purify them life and take to the process of Sankirtan, transcendental worship of the Supreme Lord by chanting and dancing, Lord Chaitanya's miracle formula for purification and for ecstatic transcendental happiness. The Sankirtan movement is a joyful movement, and at the same time, it's very purifying, brings people to the higher state of consciousness, and it awakens their attraction and attachment for the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. So this golden era, which is 10,000 years, which includes 5,000 years up, 5,000 years down. So for the next 5,000 years, Lord Chaitanya's movement will continue to spread. And Kali Yuga will somehow take a back seat as Lord Chaitanya becomes more and more prominent. But right now, Kali is very strong and he's moving fast. Kali is a personality. He knows that Lord Chaitanya is here in this age and he's working as fast as he can. That's why the degradation in this particular Kali Yuga is much faster than it happens in other Kali Yugas, because Kali knows that the Lord is here and he is under a lot of pressure, so he has to work harder to make his mission successful. And you'll see the deterioration of the age is so bad. I'm here in India. India is the land of Dharma. It's the land of Punya Bhumi. It's the land where true religious principles have come into the world. It's the home of the Vedas, and it's the essence of the practice of spiritual life, Bhakti Yoga. But now, with the advent of Kali and the force of Kali's arrival, people in India are moving away from the Vedic culture. They don't even believe that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. They think that Bhagavad Gita is some kind of, it's a nice book. It has a lot of moral and religious formulas, but Krishna is just some powerful person who came. Or some people say he's actually fictitious. Prabhupada was talking and he says nowadays people are becoming less and less inclined to believe that God is actually a person. The personal understanding of God is becoming less and less popular within the world. These are the effects of Kali Yuga. But Kali Yuga, the biggest program in Kali Yuga is that Kali teaches people you don't have to follow authority. Make a note of this, that this is how Kali is working. Become your own authority. And then Kali works in such a way as to present to the rest of the world different options by which you can show your independence, which are all based on breaking religious principles or engaging in sinful activities. So it's a kind of a trick. Don't follow authority, but then Kali gives all alternatives to that authority, and people are now dancing, as Srila Prabhupada said, they're dancing like dogs. There's so much sinful activity that goes on. As devotees, we don't really know what's going on, and we don't really care, and we don't really want to know. But if you were inclined, I'm not saying you should be, but don't. But what goes on in the material world is so degraded and so violent that it is actually quite disgusting how bad the world is now. Of course, there are a class of people who are a little bit aware of how deterioration is going, and they have some piety and they're trying to find some alternative in life. But many of them are being sucked into the same thing that they are averse to because they can't find any alternative. That's why the Krishna conscious movement is important, to reach to these people who are looking for some alternative to the propositions that Kali gives in the form of all kinds of activities that are based on enjoying the senses as much as possible. So here we're seeing what is real culture, real honor, real chivalry, real society. And we can make a contrast and see, based on what we see today, and see the difference. And even as I mentioned, even in the area of India now, and especially in the big cities, there are so many programs to follow the West. But the one thing I've noticed, I've been in India for 4 months straight now. One thing I noticed is that when the Indians, at least those in control of the media, want to do something that is similar to what the West is doing it, they try to do it better. They try to do it in a more grandiose way. So it's like the garbage is garbage, but we need some better smelling garbage. So now they're trying to do the same thing in an even more degraded way. I was just talking to one young girl where I'm staying. She was saying many of her fellow students in the university, they're shooting dope. They're taking, this is in India and here in Delhi, in the university, kids are shooting dope. One boy committed suicide. He jumped from one building just recently. And so, yeah, India is going through a lot of, the youth is being gobbled up by this idea that we need to follow the West because we are primitive. But at the same time, Krishna consciousness is quite strong in India, and it's becoming more and more stronger. Temples are opening and people are coming. So it's interesting. You'll see that Kali is advancing and Krishna consciousness is advancing at the same time. So what does that mean? That means the middle road, people who are neither inclined to either side, are becoming less. And people are moving in either one direction or another. Okay, I'll stop now. It's a little news report.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for the class. Thank you. Dear devotees, if you have any questions or comments, please go ahead. You can turn on your cameras if possible.
The difference between the sense gratification in the West and the sex gratification in India and in the East is a difference between a garbage dump with two kinds of crows. You have the young crows and the old crows. The old crows are sitting on the garbage and they're just picking it out every once in a while. They're used to the garbage. They know anything but the garbage. The new crows are all excited about the garbage, so they're jumping up and down on the garbage, trying to get as much of the garbage as they can, thinking that this garbage is really nice. So in the West, it's like that. It's the old crows. And in the East, it's the new crows. But it's still the same thing, the same garbage. One is jumping and the other one is just relaxing and picking the garbage every once in a while. So this is Kali Yuga. It's really a terrible time. I'm in Delhi here, and the fog is so bad that people can't even travel. I was supposed to go to the temple this morning, but I couldn't go because the fog was so thick. It's dangerous. You can't drive. You can't even see in front of you. It only clears up when the sun comes out. I'm in India here, and it's the coldest time of the year. And it's Delhi. Delhi is a very cold place. So there now everybody in India is trying to follow the West and making so many efforts to make money and to do so many similar activities here. But they can't even heat their homes because nobody has any central heating. There's no central heating. So everything is heated by these electrical, little electrical heaters. They plug them into the wall.
Yes, ma'am.
Because they think, well, winter's only 3 weeks, 4 weeks when it gets really cold for about a month. So why get central heating? We'll just freeze for that 1 month. I'm sitting here with a stack of clothes on.
Actually, the houses they built like that only, Maharaj. Like they don't have this facility of keeping centralized heating. But nowadays, yeah, new homes they are trying to put, but it's very rare.
Yeah, but they don't want to spend so much money just for
Yeah,
1
it's
month.
very costly. Yes, Maharaj. Yeah.
So better to freeze for 1 month so you don't have to pay for the heating.
Yeah.
And you can only put on so many electrical heaters in your house, otherwise you trip the circuit breakers and everything. The lights go out and everything.
Mhm. Yeah.
The lights went out about 5 times in the house where I was today. We lost power.
Mm.
So I was thinking, okay, so much trying to be advanced in material life, and you can't even stay warm. It's
That's
like
true. Yeah.
your advancement.
Thank you, Maharaj. Sridevi Mataji, you have a question?
Thank you, Srimati. Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my most humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj, on this subject of feeling cold, it is these cement houses. Honestly, it's these cement houses. It's colder inside the house than it is outside. And in the hot summer, it's hotter inside the house than it is outside. So this is because of our taking to this horrible building material called cement. In the really olden days, they made out of mud and lime and plaster, and the houses were warmer in winter than it was outside and cooler in summer than it was outside. So we have swapped, our indigenous technology, which was there, and we are using all this new technology, which doesn't even do the job, really. It doesn't even do the job.
Yeah,
So this is a very sad state of affairs in India, which, some people are trying to reverse that. Some people have investigated and they have come out with cow dung bricks mixed with mud and lime, and those are staying warm in winter inside and cooler in summer than outside.
Yeah, that's what Govardhan Echo Village has. Yeah, because there's no money in making mud houses. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji, for sharing that. We have a question on chat by Rishabh Prabhu. He's asking, Hare Krishna, dear Gurudev, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada and you, Gurudev. Are people in the world even able to understand or recognize virtue of mode of goodness? I have a feeling because of too much passion and ignorance, people can't perceive mode of goodness.
You can see when you're trying to sell books, like he's out there selling books, you have to have some gimmick to somehow or other convince people that they should buy the book. You have to come up with some phrase that attracts them. But years ago, the books would sell on its own merit because people were interested in spiritual topics. People are not interested in spiritual topics. And if they show any interest in spiritual topics, they think, what can I get out of what can I get materially from this book? Always looking for some personal gain.
Mhm.
Yeah, so people are not inclined to spirituality in this age. And if they are, they always see it in terms of how they can gain materially.
Yes, Maharaj.
That's the nature of this age. That's why Prabhupada said in 1977, on his last year, he emphasized two things. He said, people cannot understand this philosophy. They're too dull. They're too much in the lower modes. They have no understanding of this knowledge. Therefore, he said, the best way we can spread Krishna consciousness through Harinam Sankirtan and Prasadam. He said, do that everywhere. Have kirtan everywhere and distribute Krishna Prasadam. Of course, we still do lectures, but people can't understand this philosophy. Even devotees have a hard time understanding it.
Mhm. Yes, Maharaj. So Maharaj, I want to ask a follow-up on this. Like when we try to come to mode of goodness, I know prasadam will work, but how do we know that? Because whatever materials we use to cook the prasadam, everything is like coming from outside. It's not very pure, or they are not produced by the farmers of mode of goodness. But
Prabhupada foresaw that, and therefore he said, from the time he began his movement to the time he left, he interspersed continuously, get your own farms, get your own land. If you want, if you have a few minutes, I'll read you some things.
yes, Maharaj.
These are the things I've just come across within the last day or so. And these are statements by Srila Prabhupada. Can you hear me? Can you still hear me?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay. This is Prabhupada. The Lord is the protector of the cows in the Brahminical culture. A society devoid of cow protection, Brahminical culture, is not under the direct protection of the Lord. Thus, as prisoners in jail are not under the protection of the king, but under the protection of the severe agent of the king. Without cow protection and culture and culturalization of the Brahminical qualities in human society, At least for a section of the members of society, no humanist civilization can prosper at any length. And that's just one. I'll read. People do not know that what they're doing in the name of economic development. The influence of Kali will keep them in darkness of ignorance. Despite all endeavors for peace and prosperity, they must try to see the cows and the bulls happy in all respects. Foolish people do not know how one can earn happiness by making the cows and bulls happy. This is powerful. But it is a fact by the law of nature. If you let us take it from the authority of Bhagavatam and adopt the principles for the total happiness of humanity. Keep the cows and bulls happy, people will be happy. Another one. I have no desire to start the school in any city. City life, especially in the age of Kali, is very much polluted. Poet Copper stated that the city is made by man and the village is made by God. So in the village, there is a natural tendency for Krishna consciousness. So we want to develop such atmosphere in our New Vrindavan. Your cooperation in this matter is very encouraging to me. So much land is lying vacant, and if there are jungles, cut the jungles, use the wood. Just like in our Virginia, New Vrindavan, big jungles. You cut the woods, you get ground, open field, and use the logs for house making, food, shelter, everything is there. In Africa, everywhere, the nature way. Everything complete, arrangement by Krishna. Purnamidam. We have to work very little. God has provided everything through nature. And I have so many statements here. This is develop these farm communities as far as possible. They should be developed as an ideal society depending on natural products and industry. And natural products and not industry. Industry has simply created godlessness, because they think they can manufacture everything they need. Production of food is dependent on the rain, and the rain, of course, is dependent on the chanting of Hare Krishna. Therefore, let everyone chant Hare Krishna, eat nicely, and keep their bodies fit and healthy. This is ideal lifestyle. Now our next program will be to organize farmland, to set an example to the whole world how people can live peaceful, happy, and free from anxiety, simply by chanting Hare Krishna, Mahamantra, and living an honorable life in Krishna consciousness. I'll read one more. The village organization is that the local people produce their necessities like grains, vegetables, milk, and cloth. For recreation, they are chanting Hare Krishna. They should live very comfortably and have spiritual recreation. They should not come to the cities. I wish to introduce this ideal now. Then if we are successful, this cheating civilization will stop. They have made these cities as hell. If people do not cooperate with them, then how would their factories run out? So these are just a few of hundreds of statements by Prabhupada about self-sufficiency and the degradation and the destruction of human values, spiritual values by the present society we live in. So I'll stop there, but I could go on for another hour just reading the different statements by Srila Prabhupada.
Yes, Maharaj. Yeah, thank you so much. Very inspiring. So, Rishabh Prabhu is asking that if people have hard time to understand the philosophy, what is the biggest benefit they get from book distribution? Maybe more as direct contact with devotees?
Well, the books are so powerful that they're actually incarnations of Krishna in literary form. So Krishna has come in the form of transcendental knowledge. So if they take these books and put it in their home, they actually have a deity in their home, although they don't know it. If they read one word, then they're benefited. Even if they read one word, they get some benefit. If they read one line, they get more benefit. If they seriously read, then their consciousness will be purified. So these books, simply Prabhupada wrote a letter to the German Sankirtan team in May 6, 1977. You can look it up. Try to find that letter, May 6, 1977, Prabhupada's letter to the German Sankirtan. He said, if they simply see the book, they get benefit. If they simply touch the book, they get benefit. So book distribution is very, very effective in bringing about a change in people's lives. Okay, I have about 10 minutes left. Actually, there's a program going on where I am now, and I'm supposed to be there. So if we could just take a couple more questions.
Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah.
Namrata Mataji, please go ahead. In the meanwhile, I'll open it.
Hare Krishna. So, Guru Maharaj, my question is, when we talk about pious people, we usually say that pious people are those in the mode of goodness. But even these days, when I see the pious families, still they look in the mode of passion and ignorance. So, how are they categorized as pious when the mode of goodness is still on the lower side?
Well, that means they're not in the mode of goodness. It's called mixed. If you take the three modes of material nature and you mix them, 3 times 3 is 9, 9 times 9 is 81. And then you continue to multiply, you come to 8,400,000 species of life. So that's the different bodies, according to the different states of consciousness, make up approximately 8,400,000 types of material consciousness. And that makes up the different species. Above that is transcendental consciousness or spiritual consciousness. So if people have some tendency towards goodness, it's usually mixed with passion and ignorance, or at least passion anyway. You'll see that. You'll see a person will maybe be very generous to others, but they may also be very much afflicted by the mode of passion, in the sense that they get angry and they're lusty. So you'll see the qualities in this age are very much mixed up. Define pure goodness is impossible practically. So there's elements of goodness, but it's not pure. You can see, you're seeing it yourself. What you're describing is mixed modes, because the modes can mix.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, because ideally when Krishna consciousness is above these three modes, and when we describe to even the pious people, they still feel ignorant. So I was just thinking that these are called pious people. They seem to be following the religious principles. Still, they're ignorant towards this. So how can we call them in the mode of goodness?
No, they're not. The thing is, their piety is for material gain, not for spiritual practice. It's sometimes they feel that by acting in this way, they'll be successful materially. If they show some charity, they show some kindness, they perform some activity in the mode of goodness. It's all about furthering their material life. That's all. Therefore, it's still material. You're trying to teach them transcendence. You have to explain, bring them to the element of goodness, but then engage them in some activity in devotional service. If they're engaged in some devotional activity, they're performing activities above the three modes, because bhakti is not part of the three modes. It's transcendental. So if they chant, if they give some charity to devotees to help propagate Krishna consciousness, if they take prasadam, these are all elements of transcendence.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hey,
Maharaj, I'm unable to find May 6, 1977 letter. I see many other.
May 6, 1977. Srila Prabhupada's letter to the Sankirtan devotees. German Sankirtan devotees. May 6, 1970. That letter is in, I have it on my computer.
Oh,
It's there.
so for German Sankirtan devotees, Guru Maharaj, or any
It's a
specific
letter by
Maharaj?
Prabhupada to the German Sankirtan devotees. The German book distributors. Yes, Balaji.
Yes, Balaji Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj, like you mentioned, following Krishna consciousness, prasadam, and, all these are very good to be in the mode of goodness and, follow the bhakti. But basically, when people are staying in cities in this modern age and day, is it not important, to have more gurukuls for the, future generation kids to have that education, Maharaj?
We've attempted to put a type of spiritual education into secular societies, and that's happening in London. You have the Avanti schools. And the Avanti schools are based on teaching people spirituality, but it's open to the general public. Now it's become more available to people in general. And now the subject matters are also being included for which include other different traditions. But our gurukuls can only be done within the confines of the ISKCON society. They have to be inaugurated by the temples or started by the congregation. The congregation can start a gurukul. They can do it.
Yes, Maharaj. Because all the education which kids are getting in in the cities, it's of no useful for any of the future generations, Maharaj.
Yeah, I mean, I was just like I was saying, I was talking to this university girl here. Her family is, they're not initiated, but they're very inclined to Krishna consciousness. And she was crying yesterday when she was talking to me, how she can't find good association in her schools. There's no devotees there. And she said, she just explained to me all of the sinful activities that her fellow students are engaged in. She's unhappy there, very unhappy. But she has, because she's grown up in a proper family, she still has that. She has to. And they have rules such as you can't bring food from the outside into the schools. So they have to take the food that's made in the schools. And a lot of them have onions and garlic in it. I said, was there any Any meat? She says, no, they don't allow meat in my university. That was good thing. But still, a lot of the food is polluted by onions, garlic, and other stuff. Only when we eat prasadam are we elevating ourselves through the process of eating. It's not prasadam, then we're, as Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita. What is that verse? Go to the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, verse number 13. 3:13.
Maharaj, verse number?
Third chapter, Gita, 13th verse.
13th
I think
verse.
it's 13th or 14th, but let's see.
Let's come.
Yeah, this is it. Yagna Shanshishito Shantam Uchate Sarva Kil Visai. Uchate Pe Tagam Papam Yeta Chankmakarna. The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sin because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat only sin. So this is spoken by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. So here Krishna spells it out. If you take food for sacrifice, that means that food is being offered on the altar, that's sacrifice. And then you're free from the reactions, because in order to eat, you have to kill. And therefore, people get sinful reactions just simply by eating. They're suffering just because they're eating without offering it.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, I found the letter. Thank you, Prabhuji, for the nice question. This is the one.
Yeah.
May 6, 1977. Do you want me to read, Maharaj?
Go to the part where go down the page farther. Here. Go on spreading the Sankirtan movement more and more. Read that.
Go on spreading the Sankirtana movement more and more. I am only one person, but because all of you have kindly cooperated with me, this movement has now become a success all over the world. Be assured that there is no more direct way to preach than to distribute Krishna conscious books. Whoever gets a book is benefited. If he reads the book, he is benefited still more. Or if he gives the book to someone else for reading, both he and the other person is benefited. Even if one does not read the book, but simply holds if and sees it, he is benefited. If he simply gives small donation towards the work of Krishna consciousness, he is benefited. And anyone who distributes these transcendental literatures, he is also benefited. Therefore, Sankirtana is the prime benediction for the age.
Yeah, so you can see, even if they hold the book, they get benefited. Prabhupada wrote that letter in gratitude of the devotees that were spreading Krishna consciousness through book distribution.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Anybody has any more questions? I think I saw Manisha Mataji raise her hand. Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for such a wonderful class. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj, I have a question that why do Western peoples accept Krishna consciousness so easily, but Indians do not accept easily, despite being told to them since childhood. So why, Maharaj? Thank you so much.
Well, that's a general what you say is generally correct. It's not absolutely correct. But the tendency is there. The Indians are being taught, like when Prabhupada was in America, he met one student. Prabhupada was talking to him, and the student said, Swamiji, what you're saying is very nice, but now we require technology. Now we require technology. So they're saying because society has not had technology, we lived in darkness. And now we have to come and join the rest of the world with their advancement and all of these modern amenities that people consider to be the success of life. So they're being brainwashed to think that living simply and worshiping God is primitive. And they're even doubting that what they had learned before was actually true. But you see, our preaching in the West Indians is very good because they come to the West, they get all of the chances to grow materially, but they remain frustrated. And therefore, Lord Chaitanya has come everywhere. And so they leave India to get a better material situation, and somehow they run into our Krishna consciousness. But in India, it's like, well, as I mentioned, Kali is moving forward and Krishna consciousness is moving. Both are moving forward. It's interesting. Both are actually gaining ground in the world. The world is becoming more sinful and hellish. At the same time, on another side, there's more piety and spirituality also developing. So, as I mentioned in my earlier lectures, that the Maya and Krishna consciousness were the two minorities, where the general population in the world was simply the mainstream population, who were simply looking towards material life as a success in life, working hard, getting a job, getting an education. Now that's becoming less and less and less. People are doing that, but they're also becoming sinful. And others are doing that and practicing Krishna consciousness. Interesting time. It's a very interesting time in the world. It's a very difficult time at the same time. There's a real battle going on between spirituality, the mode of goodness, or the demigods. The demigods are coming from the higher planets. They're appearing in the families of devotees. They're also coming in other forms to assist the spread of Krishna consciousness around the world. The demons are coming from other planets, also taking birth on this planet to spread. The earth has become a battleground now for piety against, in a very obvious way, piety against impiety, spirituality against gross materialism. So I've said this before, it's just my statement, but look, this next year, 2024, watch out. You're going to see a lot of things happen. Really heavy stuff coming down from both sides. Krishna consciousness is moving forward, and Maya is always moving. And people, as Prabhupada says, soon there will be shortages of food, high inflation, government taxations. People will be squashed. It's practically hard to live a good material life anymore. I mean, just in just in the UK alone, 45% of people's income goes to taxes before they even get it. Can you imagine that? Almost half your paycheck is given to taxes. And if you earn over 100,000 pounds a year, it's 50%. I mean, that's ridiculous. Government's taking everything. Governments will squeeze people to no limit. So people will either revolt or just give up. This is Kali, it's in the Bhagavatam too. It's not just like something I'm predicting. Food shortages, inflation, social unrest, wars. Okay, enough of the news.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Our job is to stay, we can be free from all of this nonsense if we just stay fixed in our Krishna consciousness. Never neglect your chanting. Always keep your chanting foremost. And Krishna will always protect the devotees. That's for sure.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you so much, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare
Jai.
Yeah.
Jai. Thank you very much.
Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Maharaj ki jai.
Maharaj, I want to announce
Right.
tomorrow's class. Tomorrow's
Hare
class
Krishna.
is with
Guru Maharaj.
Ganga devotees. The verse number is 7th canto, 4th chapter, verse number 19. 749.
7/4/19,
Yes, Maharaj.
and that's with Charlotte,
With Charlotte devotees. It is 20 minutes later from our regular time,
right?
50 p.m. highest.
Okay.
Thank you all, everyone. Thank you all.
Thank you.
So much, Maharaj. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Holiness Chandramauli Swami Maharaj ki jai.
Jai Gurudev.
Jai. Thank you,
Jai.
Guru Maharaj.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.